rebuilt, designed to withstand future storms.
The road has never ever been in at least that good of a shape as long as I've seen it.
But despite the preparations, residents say you can never be too certain.
You never know, and it's always wonderful. It's always just really something to see.
In Southwest Harbor, Alex Schley for ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Meanwhile, travelers, of course, were feeling the effects at the Bangor International Airport. Many flights were delayed or canceled because of the poor weather conditions. Foot traffic at the airport also, of course, slowed down. As you can see, it was almost non-existent. We caught up with one woman traveling to Florida who had really planned ahead and arrived at the airport 7 hours early in the hopes of still reaching her destination.
If I can get to the airport, then I can just hunker down here. It's already been delayed till 8:30, so my hope is that I don't have to travel back and wait until tomorrow. But I'm hopeful that Old Man Winter will calm a little bit and let me get out tonight.
Well, it's unclear exactly how long the storm will affect flights, so of course make sure to check with your airline for any updates to your flight status if you are traveling. Well, one area was actually wishing they were getting more snow from the storm. Katahdin region businesses rely heavily on outdoor recreation this time of year. They say the season got off to an earlier start with snow in December, but they could always use more.
The Katahdin region has pivoted more toward an outdoor recreation economy as certainly a key factor in the economy of the Katahdin region. It's critical that snow and cold be part of our landscape here for a good 3 months.
Fanjoy says this season has definitely been an improvement over the past couple of years. She says the trails are being well maintained for plenty of snow sledding, snowshoeing, and cross-country skiing as well. Well, members of local law enforcement say as the weather remains intense, they've noted a significant decrease in travelers on the road. Penobscot County Sheriff Troy Morton and Belfast Police Chief Bob Cormier agreed that was a good sign that Mainers were adhering to public safety guidance, giving first responders the space to address some minor incidents that had occurred.
These are Maine folks. We're used to traveling in tough conditions, and certainly by this time of the year, folks are getting used to it. But it is important to make sure that you're planning ahead a little bit.
We're seeing some really high wind gust, and so 1 minute you're driving along and it looks like just an average snowstorm, and then the next minute it's like whiteout conditions, and it catches you off guard. So I think it's really it's good for people to stay off the road when it's a storm like this because it's very unpredictable.
Well, shifting away from the weather now to other local headlines. The Washington County Sheriff's Office says deputies were fired upon as they were searching a residence in Steuben Friday. The Sheriff's Office says deputies went to 71 Augusta Drive in Steuben to conduct a warrant check. A subsequent probation search of the residence ended in the arrest of 42-year-old Corey Perry and 26-year-old Lauren Anderson for unlawful possession of scheduled drugs. Then later, deputies were executing a search warrant for the residence when the Sheriff's Office says they came under fire from 4 other suspects who had allegedly fled the residence previously. The 4 were located and arrested. The Sheriff's Office says they were found in possession of roughly 272 grams of cocaine, roughly 4 grams of fentanyl, and a little over $1,300 in cash. Now, the other four were identified as Erilyn Diaz Gomez, Freddy Gonzalez Adame, and Jeremy Alberto Baez, all from Boston, Massachusetts, as well as Nina Willie of Steuben. They face a variety of drug and weapons charges. Lauren Anderson posted bail. The others are being held in the Washington County Jail. Well, police are still investigating a crash that killed a woman who was putting gas in her car. A little before 11:30 Sunday morning, police and EMS were called to the Big Apple convenience store on Upper Main Street in Waterville, Waterville Police Chief William Bonney says their initial investigation indicates that a Subaru driven by 70-year-old Richard Moyen of Strong was turning right onto Main Street when it struck a Cadillac driven by 57-year-old Kenneth Hughes of Waterville. Chief Bonney says after the initial collision, the Cadillac left the roadway and struck a vehicle parked at the gas pump at the Big Apple. 37-year-old Michelle Bruce of Madison was struck while refueling her vehicle. She died at the scene. A Rockland man has been arrested after police say he drove a plow truck towards a large crowd gathered in Chapman Park. 65-year-old Michael Robinson has been charged with felony reckless conduct with a dangerous weapon and driving to endanger. According to the Rockland Police Department, on Saturday, Robinson drove his plow truck with the plow down in close proximity to around 75 people who were gathered at the park. Police say this caused snow and ice to strike multiple people and even knocked some people to the ground. According to the Rockland Police Department, weekly gatherings in this area have occurred for over a year with very few incidents, but there has been a recent increase in criminal activity targeting those exercising free speech.
I just am concerned that it's gotten to this place in our community and in our country where our neighbors are being moved to act in violent or escalatory ways against people who are just out here to exercise our First Amendment rights.
Robinson was taken into custody Saturday and booked into the Knox County Jail. Police say additional charges are expected. And still to come on Fox 22 News at 10, more of your local news.
Hi, I'm Tony Hafford from TC Hafford Basement Systems, the all things basement-y company. Basement waterproofing, basement structural repair, humidity and mold control, and nasty crawl spaces too. Since 1991, over 15,000 Maine homeowners have trusted TC Hafford Basement Systems to fix their basements. Call TC Hafford Basement Systems today for all things basement-y.
See the USA in your Chevrolet. America's asking you to call. Drive your Chevrolet through the USA. America's the greatest land of all.
Well-qualified buyers can get 1.9% financing when you finance with GM Financial. Or qualified lessees can get this Silverado pickup for around $399 a month.
I'm Jim with Lowry Law. I was contacted by a woman who asked me to help one of her friends who had been hurt by a drunk driver. We got him a $250,000 settlement. If you've been hurt by a drunk driver, call me. I'm your go-to guy.
Foggy's Pub, your place for fun, food, and friends in Palmyra, Maine.
When Blazing Trails located in Lincoln want to know the local forecast, they log on to foxbangor.com. Blazing Trails is Lincoln's #1 trusted dispensary, providing outstanding product and customer service to eastern and central Maine.
Welcome back. The Red Cross plans to discontinue mobile blood drives in northern Maine. A statement sent out by American Red Cross of Northern New England says in part, quote, after careful consideration, the American Red Cross will discontinue mobile blood drives in many parts of Aroostook, Hancock, Penobscot, Piscataquis, Somerset, Waldo, and Washington counties effective July 2026. This change is driven by logistical challenges and rising operational costs and helps ensure we use our resources efficiently while continuing to serve patients, end quote. Now, according to the statement, the adjustment will not affect the availability and distribution of blood or blood products. They encourage donors to keep giving at the Red Cross Blood Donation Center at 900B Hammond Street in Bangor. Blood drives will continue in Belfast, Fairfield, Newport, Pittsfield, and Skowhegan. 13 Red Cross employees will be impacted by the changes, though. The statement says some will be offered the opportunity to transfer to the Red Cross fixed site operation. Well, back in December, we told you about the Machias community rallying to help a woman with leukemia. When the folks at Helen's Restaurant heard former employee Suzanne Lewis had been diagnosed with leukemia and needed a bone marrow transplant, they took to social media to raise awareness. Suzanne gave them her blessing, hoping it might help others in her position along the way. That post on Facebook about her needing a donor got a lot of attention, and we do have a very happy update for you. Suzanne has announced a match has been found. She says it's very overwhelming to hear that someone is that selfless to help a complete stranger, and she is feeling very blessed. Well, coming up on the 10 p.m. news on Fox 22, Americans in parts of Mexico are being told to shelter in place following the death of one of the world's most ruthless drug kingpins. And the world prepares to mark 4 years since the Russian invasion of Ukraine. We'll have those stories and more as the 10 p.m. news on Fox 22 continues.
Dreaming of a new garage or custom build? Patriot Landscaping and Construction delivers from frame to finish. Expert craftsmanship, durable designs, and quality you can trust, we get it done right. Call Patriot Landscaping and Construction today. Let's build your future together.
Lease a new 2026 Sportage LX front-wheel drive for $239 a month.
A sharp pain in his chest. He knew it was his heart, but 2 hours from the big city hospital could tragically mean the end. But it wasn't. Thanks to Senator Susan Collins' tireless fight for Maine's rural hospitals. Because of Senator Collins' work, his local hospital had recently received up-to-date diagnostic equipment and upgraded facilities, all paid for with new federal funding. Lives are being saved. Call and thank our Senator Susan Collins for delivering this lifeline for Maine.
If you can't be there, be here. Be a part of something bigger. Nesson is your exclusive home for all things Red Sox.
Are you not entertained or what?
With all the action, all the access, all the time. Stream Red Sox spring training games on Nesson 360.
Dreaming of a new garage or custom build? Patriot Landscaping and Construction delivers from frame to finish. Expert craftsmanship, durable designs, and quality you can trust, we get it done right. Call Patriot Landscaping and Construction today. Let's build your future together.
You are watching WFVX, Fox 22, Bangor.
Americans in parts of Mexico are being told to shelter in place. The area around Puerto Vallarta is said to be a virtual war zone following the weekend death of one of the world's most ruthless drug kingpins. Fox's Jillian Turner has details from the State Department.
Apparently, a part of Mexico that folks thought was very safe has, turned the other way.
American tourists in Mexico are facing a second night under State Department shelter-in-place orders for Puerto Vallarta and surrounding areas. This after Mexican security forces took out the leader of the notorious Jalisco cartel, known as El Mencho.
It is up there with Sinaloa as being one of the deadliest cartels and one of the main producers of fentanyl that traffics onto U.S. streets.
El Mencho's henchmen responded by taking to the streets, killing dozens of people and setting the city ablaze. Stores, gas stations, roadways, all burned.
It was surreal because we're going to the airport and we're dodging burned out cars in the middle of the street.
Flights in and out of the area were grounded.
There's no coming in and out of the city unless you own a vehicle.
Mexico's president is urging calm.
The most important thing at this moment is to guarantee the peace and security of the entire population of all of Mexico.
Meanwhile, Mexican officials are disclosing new details on the operation.
Through military intelligence work, we located a trusted person of one of El Mencho's romantic partners who transported her to a facility in the town of Tapala, Jalisco. At that location, she met with El Mencho.
Mexican officials plan to arrest El Mencho there, but he opened fire and fled to nearby woods where he was later found.
El Mencho came out. They left behind a group with a large quantity of weapons. It really was a very violent attack.
He died from gunshot injuries. The White House says the U.S. played a vital role in the operation. Trump officials, quote, provided intelligence that Mexican officials relied upon.
He promised to stop the flow of fentanyl, secure the border, prosecute and go after the cartels. Part of this is working with our allies like Mexico.
Tonight, Aeromexico says the company hopes to resume their operations gradually, but the State Department says Americans in the area in Mexico should continue to hunker down. There are no government evacuation flights planned as of now. At the State Department, Jillian Turner, Fox News. The world is marking 4 years since the start of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. A key government official in Ukraine says it's been a long struggle, but the Ukrainians will not give up. Fox's Greg Palcott has more from Kyiv.
4 years ago this week, Russia's invasion of Ukraine began. It first looked like a rout by the Russians, but they got bogged down and Ukraine counterattacked. We watched at least part of the way with former boxing champion and Kyiv mayor Vitaly Klitschko. Here's what he says now.
Russia is aggressor and we defend. We defend our homeland, we defend our future, we defend our values, and we defend the right to be the part of European family, part of the democratic world. We're fighting for that.
There have been several rounds of three-way negotiations between Ukraine, Russia, and the U.S., but there hasn't been much progress. And with the fighting stuck on the front line, Moscow had found a new way to punish the Ukrainians.
You're looking at Russia's Cold War against Ukraine. This massive power plant was hit by Russian missiles and drones in recent days. People here are trying to get it working again.
Never have the attacks been so strong, rarely the winter so cold. Air defenses fend off Russian assaults, but some get through, demanding critical repairs.
We have survived dozens of attacks. Almost all the equipment here has been damaged more than once.
Even miners had to be brought in to clear away the rubble.
We must understand, if there is no heat, then the children will not eat and the elderly will freeze. So we're working for a common cause.
During the worst of it, people huddled in heating shelters to get through freezing nights. With the help of these workers, the locals are making it through the winter and Russia's attacks.
They were trying to break spirit of Ukrainians. And of course, they were not successful.
Still, Ukrainians like ex-boxer Klitschko are keeping the fighting spirit alive. He told us when he was in the ring he had one slogan, never give up. And, so far at least, the Ukrainians haven't. In Kyiv, Greg Palcott, Fox News.
Nick Reiner returned to court Monday for his arraignment to enter a plea on double murder charges in the deaths of his parents, Rob and Michelle Reiner. Fox's Ashley Dvorkin has the latest from Los Angeles.
The plea of not guilty is entered on behalf of Mr. Reiner.
Nick Reiner officially entering a not guilty plea to 2 counts of first-degree murder in the killing of his parents, Rob and Michelle Reiner. The 32-year-old appeared in an LA courtroom Monday behind a glass pane as his attorney, public defender Kimberly Green, entered the plea on his behalf. No bail was set. District Attorney Nathan Hochman says the case is on track. They've provided a bulk of discovery to the defense counsel and are now waiting for the coroner's report. He added they're taking the process in which they determine whether or not to seek the death penalty extremely seriously and have asked the defense to present any arguments for consideration in that regard.
It goes through a very rigorous process. We will be looking at all aggravating and mitigating circumstances, and we have invited defense counsel to present to us both in writing and orally in a meeting any arguments that they would like to make in consideration for our going forward or not going forward with the death penalty.
This is Reiner's 3rd court appearance following 2 postponements in entering a plea in the case. At the most recent court date last month, his attorney Alan Jackson withdrew, citing circumstances beyond his control. Nick Reiner was arrested hours after Rob and Michelle Reiner were found dead with stab wounds at their Brentwood home December 14th. Since then, he has been held without bail. Nick Reiner's next court date is April 29th for a preliminary hearing, at which point a judge will decide if there's enough evidence to go to trial. In Los Angeles, Ashley Dvorkin, Fox News.
The search for Nancy Guthrie is now in week 4, and investigators say they are still pursuing several leads to identify a suspect. Fox spoke to a former soccer star whose own parent was kidnapped about his perspective on this ordeal. Fox's Rebecca Castor has more.
The Pima County Sheriff's Department says there is no change in resources here, and hundreds of law enforcement remain on the case.
It's day 23, and investigators still have not named a suspect or motive in Nancy Guthrie's disappearance.
For someone who's been in this situation for a couple of times, I understand what they're going through. I can feel the pain. They just have to keep the faith.
Former Chelsea FC star Mikel John Obi's father was kidnapped twice in Nigeria, and he says both times the captors wanted money.
When it becomes difficult is when you don't know exactly the reason why he or she's been kidnapped.
Investigators have not confirmed the authenticity of ransom notes sent to media outlets in the Guthries case. But for people in the public eye, like Nancy's daughter, Savannah, Mikel says it's hard not to feel responsible for your loved one's disappearance.
Obviously, you're the guy that they're coming after. They want to get money from you.
Over the weekend, law enforcement remained focused on isolating mixed DNA found at the 84-year-old's home. But the sheriff warns that process could take months.
The prolonged aspects of this make it so much more difficult because as you're having to just revisit it and there's no going away from it.
Volunteer groups also took up the search. They did find a backpack, but it was determined by authorities to be unrelated to the case.
We're out here just to support and just be here as more support and see if we can find anything.
The Sheriff's Department is telling people who want to search for Nancy on their own that they should leave the work to the professionals. In Tucson, Arizona, Rebecca Castor, Fox News.
Still to come on Fox 22 News at 10, we will have more of your national headlines.
It's the new season of Next Level Chef, and the competition is more chaotic than ever.
That's crazy.
Next Level Chef, all new Thursdays on Fox.
We've got a 100-year-old company here, and it's because of the service, the quality, and the experience. It gets done right.
I think we've been doing it for so long. The only thing that we do, that when we walk into a room, we automatically know how to treat that window. We can take any product that the customer's looking for and make it work in just about any situation that they present us with. So
there's no reason to be overwhelmed. We can help you through it.
We're not going anywhere. We've been around for 100 years.
A little winter weather never stopped Old George or Toyota from offering incredible savings to celebrate his birthday on vehicles from the longest lasting brand at the Toyota Washington's Birthday Savings Event. You could get an all-wheel drive 2025 RAV4 gas or plug-in hybrid model with 4.75 for 72 clearance financing. Plus, get 2 years no-cost maintenance. Come get your savings in honor of Old George at your New England Toyota dealer, your all-wheel drive headquarters. Toyota, let's go places.
Come see us at R&K Variety in Hamden. R&K Variety is more than just a convenience store. With delicious homemade food made fresh daily, we offer hearty meals that don't break the bank. Whether it be our delicious chicken pot pie, our famous lasagna, or one of our savory soups, you can't go wrong at R&K Variety. Looking for a drink after work? R&K Variety is an agency liquor store with an impressive selection. R&K Variety, more than just a convenience store. We're your neighbor, chef, barista, and friend. Stop by today.
Are you experiencing foot pain? Comfort Shoes & More has a team of experts trained in podorthics to help you find relief. They offer tailored fittings, shoe modifications, customized orthotics, and much more for the ordinary or the hard-to-fit foot. Discover the latest in functional and fashionable footwear for men and women from today's top brands: Hoka, Brooks, Keen, Merrell, and Ariat. From running to walking, casual or dress, they have it all. Take the drive to Newport for a sit-and fit to find your perfect fit. You and your feet will be glad you did.
The Newport Cultural Center is a gathering spot where community members are building connections between generations.
Our number one priority is making people feel welcome.
We'll have the story Tuesday on Fox 22 News at 10.
Our names were whispered through time, from generation to generation. Nothing is impossible for God.
New tariffs, same uncertainty for retailers. Fox Business correspondent Edward Lawrence has more.
Tariff uncertainty is back. The Trump administration laid out plans to increase its global tariff at 15%, with carve-outs for USMCA and trade deals, replacing tariffs ruled illegal by the U.S. Supreme Court last week.
And the president does not need Congress to move the tariff revenue back up.
Meanwhile, retailers are operating in the dark. Last year, many raced to stockpile inventory before tariffs took effect.
I feel like we are in an emergency situation now. It might not look that way on the surface, but it very much is so.
The National Retail Federation calling the Supreme Court ruling, quote, much needed certainty for U.S. businesses and manufacturers.
This isn't as big a deal as everyone keeps talking about. Sure, there's an impact. Sure, there's uncertainty, and that's probably the worst thing.
Many business owners have hit the brakes on shipments indefinitely. Others have cut staff and raised prices to deal with higher costs. Some of the biggest companies say they are passing tariff-related costs on to customers. Walmart attributed a jump in prices for certain goods to higher import duties. Levi Strauss says it's hiking prices in response to tariffs by modest amounts on lower-priced items.
Retailers should focus on running their businesses well, getting merchandise consumers really want to buy, having fantastic service, and a great website. And the rest of this is going to sort out, and it's not going to be a major hit.
The White House disputes tariffs are fueling inflation and hurting the economy.
He is fulfilling his mandate to the American people to bring back manufacturing and stop the U.S. from being ripped off by our trading partners.
The Trump administration says the tariffs will shrink the deficit by adding fair trade terms, energizing domestic manufacturing, and generating billions in federal revenue. At the White House, Edward Lawrence, Fox Business.
As we all know, a massive blizzard blanketed the Northeast in snow today, with several areas seeing record-breaking snowfall measuring several feet. Fox's CB Cotton reports from New York.
Snow across the Northeast already being measured in feet as this blizzard continues to pummel the region, and officials have warned that dangerous conditions are expected through the evening.
Stay inside. Get off the roads tonight. In our last storm, I said don't travel if you don't have to. Now I'm just saying don't travel tonight.
Many transit systems, schools, and businesses shutting down for the day. And in hard-hit areas like New York City and New Jersey, travel bans were in effect, with many areas experiencing near whiteout conditions.
I'm imploring New Yorkers to stay off the roads. The fewer passenger and commercial vehicles need to be assisted, the quicker we can respond to plows and emergency vehicles.
The heavy and dense snow, combined with high winds of up to 60 miles per hour, have also left more than 600,000 without power. And at airports, many travelers have been left stranded, with more than 10,000 flights canceled nationwide and nearly 2,000 already called off for Tuesday.
I need to get back to Miami. I got to make it back to school. I can't miss a day. I got to get back.
Still, many were out enjoying the winter wonderland, including in New York's Central Park and Times Square.
We've been dancing in Times Square this morning in the middle of the road in rush hour. Just dancing and not believing we could do it.
In addition to plows here in the Big Apple, officials also recruited people to help shovel, with some beginning last night. In New York City, CB Cotton, Fox News.
Well, a new study found that people lose more weight on this weight loss drug. Fox's Darren Botello has a look at this story and more in today's Fox Means Business.
Markets selling off for your Monday. All three major indices red across the board, each closing more than 1% lower. PayPal surging to the top of the S&P and NASDAQ on reports the fintech company is attracting takeover interest from a potential buyer. The company has reportedly held meetings with banks and has at least one large rival to take over the whole company, while others are only interested in certain PayPal assets. Shares of Novo Nordisk sinking after a study found its new weight loss drug revealed it was not as effective as rival Eli Lilly's Zepbound. Patients on Novo's new weight loss treatment showed a weight reduction of 23% after 84 weeks, versus nearly 26% on Lilly's Zepbound. And speaking of Eli Lilly's Zepbound, the company is now launching a new form of the drug. The new version offers a month's worth of doses in a single pen. The pen could serve as a more convenient option for some patients as it reduces the number of devices they have to use in a single month to take the drug. Prices start at $299 for the lowest level of Eli Lilly's direct-to-consumer site, Lilly Direct. That's business. I'm Darren Botello.
And just ahead, your full 5-day forecast. You won't want to miss it.
One of the more powerful nor'easters in recent memory slammed into the Gulf of Maine for today, bringing tons of snow, tons of wind, and plenty that were left without power out there. What were some of the peak wind gusts we saw out there for today? Well, we'll have those answers coming right up.
Blazing Trails, located in Lincoln, is your #1 trusted caregiver storefront. From personalized consultations to the highest quality product, Blazing Trails provides outstanding patient services to Eastern and Central Maine. Discover how we're blazing the trails to quality holistic medicine.
At the County Federal Credit Union, we value the trust our members place in us to act in their best interest. Whether it's providing low rates on consumer loans or raising money to end hunger, we work hard to serve our members and the communities in which they live. We are excited to bring the meaningful and impactful work we do to all Mainers as we continue to grow. Wherever you are in life's journey, count on the county to be your financial partner.
Before you try drastic measures, try new Olay Regenerist, upgraded with triple collagen peptides to strengthen cellular bonds from within. For firmer, lifted, more radiant skin. Only Olay.
Every Sunday night, he can't sleep. But not this Sunday.
When you really need to sleep, ZzzQuil has no equal. Get the deeply restorative sleep you need. ZzzQuil, not for colds, just for sleep. Really great sleep.
Keep your next building project on track when you plan ahead with help from Hammond Lumber Company. Hammond's Home Planning Center specialists offer professional plans with customizable 3D renderings available to bring your project to life. Once your design is finalized and approved, you'll receive a full materials list. And when you buy all your materials from them, Hammond will refund your design fees. Get your building project off to the right start when you bring your vision to Hammond Lumber Company.
Blazing Trails, located in Lincoln, is your #1 trusted caregiver storefront. From personalized consultations to the highest quality product, Blazing Trails provides outstanding patient services to Eastern and Central Maine. Discover how we're blazing the trails to quality holistic medicine.
So what's it like being a doctor in Port Wynne?
This town is ridiculous.
Come on, you're starting to like it here.
Best Medicine, all new Tuesdays on Fox.
Thank you very much. Tonight's weather is brought to you by Blazing Trails, located in Lincoln. Blazing Trails provides outstanding products and customer service to Penobscot County. Blazing Trails, they're blazing the trails to holistic medicine. All right, highs out there for today with the powerful nor'easter in the area. We reached the mid-20s here in Bangor, same for Millinocket. Some low 30s along your coastline and slightly cooler in areas like Greenville, where you're in the low 20s out there for today. But for tonight, temperatures barely budge. We'll still stick right around 20 here with the wind and the clouds and a little bit of snow early on. Low to mid-20s along your coastline and slightly cooler as you head further north, where you'll see mid to upper teens for lows for you. But as we head into tomorrow, we'll see those temperatures get closer to the 30 here in Bangor, still expected to be in the upper 20s. Wouldn't be surprised if a few more areas hit 30 down into the southwestern portion of the state for tomorrow. But as you see again, just slightly cooler up north with those low to mid-20s once again throughout Clayton Lake, Caribou, into areas like Millinocket as well. So average highs now right around 33 degrees, a bit below for tomorrow into your Wednesday, but we jump right back near average for Thursday and the Friday. And then well above for your Saturday, where we can see highs reaching near 40. That'll melt a little bit of the snow that we received out there for today. And we got more coming for your Wednesday as well. Sunday and the Monday, those temperatures will drop again back below average next week with those highs in the mid-20s by Monday afternoon. So, of course, we dealt with a massive, powerful nor'easter out there for today, and there's still some time for that winter storm warning in effect right now in Bangor down near Portland, expiring tomorrow morning right around 7 a.m. And the blizzard warning is still in effect as well for much much of the southeastern portion of the state and along our coastline, where you've been seeing plenty of wind, plenty of snow, plenty of hazardous conditions out there for today. And that winter weather advisory, where the weather is not as bad, especially precipitation-wise, that's expiring tomorrow morning for you at 7 a.m. as well. So here are some of the wind reports for today. Frenchboro is an island, one of the many. It's just southeast of Swans Island. They saw 68 miles per hour recorded for a wind gust today, close to 70 miles per hour. A little bit more inland, Portland at 52 miles per hour, Augusta at 44, Belfast at 43, same for Rockland, and here in Bangor, 40 mile per hour gusts were recorded this afternoon. And all this fits criteria for the blizzard conditions that were out there for today, but the snow is beginning to come to an end. Speaking of snow reports, I'm sure many of you were looking forward to that, but many areas in the National Weather Service observation sites to the southeast were knocked out for today, so we weren't really to get many of those reports in. We should have them for you by tomorrow, especially with some more wind gust reports from this area that we weren't able to record for today. But more of the story is the snow is coming to an end for tonight. Be out of here right around 4 a.m. We'll see some more sunshine, especially down to the southwest for tomorrow. And then as we head into your Wednesday, more cloud cover comes in as a clipper system comes by. That's going to bring some chances for some snow as we get into the late morning hours into the afternoon. Some locally heavy snow could be along the coastline again. Otherwise, many of us looking at a 1 to 3 inch snowfall for your Wednesday on top of what we got out there for today. So winds still pretty windy, as you see near Machias around midnight. Wind gusts reaching 40 miles per hour still, but the wind will die down towards the early morning. Still gusty out there with wind gusts near 25 to 30 miles per hour, but continuing that into your Tuesday afternoon, the winds lighten up, and then by Wednesday morning, those winds will be light and variable for us ahead of that clipper system, bringing a little bit more snow. So for tonight, lows in the low 20s. The snow is coming to an end, but still windy out there with wind gusts reaching near 40 miles per hour, lows in the low 20s. For tomorrow, we'll see upper 20s with partly cloudy skies as conditions improve and those winds beginning to die down, but still gusting near 25 early on in the day. Here's a look at our extended forecast. You can see we're back near 30 for your Wednesday with another round of snow, but drying out with warmer temperatures Thursday and the Friday, those highs in the mid-30s, and looking to reach near 40 for your Saturday. That will melt a little bit of snow that we saw there for today. Beth?
Chase, thank you so much. And folks, don't go anywhere. Sports is next.
We all have a friend who loves the McDonald's hot, crispy Filet-O-Fish. My friend, you could be that friend.
Choose between 2 Filet-O-Fish and 2 10-piece McNuggets, or mix and match for $6.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
See the USA in your Chevrolet. America's asking you to call. Drive your Chevrolet through the USA. America's the greatest land of all.
Well-qualified buyers can get 1.9% financing when you finance with GM Financial. Or qualified lessees can get this Silverado pickup for around $399 a month.
Craving something delicious? Welcome to High Street Market, located at 167 Enfield Road in Lincoln. Breakfast options? Grab a cup of coffee and try one of our sandwiches or burritos. When breakfast is over, we're just getting started. Pizza, subs, burgers, and pastries. Come get lost in Danny's Beer Cave. Order online and save 10% off your first order. High Street Market, where your taste buds go to party.
When lives are on the line, they don't hesitate to run towards danger. Unfortunately, the same gear that protects them from deadly flames can be hazardous to their health. Senator Susan Collins to the rescue. Susan helped introduce legislation that protects firefighters and first responders from cancer-causing forever chemicals in their equipment. Because their job is dangerous enough. Call Senator Collins and thank her for protecting Maine's first responders.
With McValue at McDonald's, get deals that keep the party going.
It only takes $5 to fire up the flavor with the hot and spicy McChicken. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
ABC 7 and Fox 22's Jack Webb named Maine's Sportscaster of the Year by the National Sports Media Association.
Welcome back in, folks. It was very weird to spend Monday not inside Cross Insurance Center as we wrapped up another successful tournament week here in Maine this past Saturday. So let's run through those updated brackets as we prepare for state championship weekend. We start with the Class A boys. Brunswick shocked Edward Little in the semis but wasn't enough to knock off the number 1 seed Camden Hills as Mr. Basketball candidate Nolan Ames led the Windjammers to a Class A North title. They'll take on Portland in the state championship on Saturday at 7:45. As for the Class A girls, fairly chalk all the way through until a great second half led the Hamden Academy Broncos past top-seeded Mount Ararat and securing them a Class A North regional title. The Broncos will take on Cheverus in the Class A state championship on Saturday at 6:05 down in Portland at the Cross Insurance Arena. Now to Class B, Gardner pulling the upset over top-seeded Coney in the Class B North title. They were unconscious from beyond the arc in that game, winning 80-71, shooting 78% from 3 in the first half. They'll take on the 4 seed from the South, the Yarmouth Clippers, at 7:45 on Friday night at the Cross in Bangor. In Class B girls, the number 7 seed Ellsworth made noise early with a huge quarterfinal upset win over Old Town and then gave number 3 Lawrence all they could handle. But Maddie Provost, Ashley Shores, and the Bulldogs would not be denied a B North title. They'll take on Oceanside in the Class B state title game Friday night in Bangor at 6:05. Provost against Breen will be must-see TV. On to Class C, where the boys have provided more excitement than any other class in the tournament. As time expired in the Class C North Championship, Aiden Jeffers hit a shot at the buzzer to lift Fort Kent over top-seeded Caribou and send his team to the state championship, where they'll take on Maranacook on Saturday at 8:45 down in Augusta. Maranacook also won on a buzzer beater to get there. As for Class C girls, Mananacook's undefeated season lives on as Addison Sear, Megan House, and the Lynx beat a scrappy Foxcroft Academy team in the C North title game by a score of 41-22. They'll take on Spruce Mountain in the state title match on Saturday at 7:05 down in Augusta. To Class D, Machias ran the table on the boys' side as they captured the Class D North title. They came alive in the second half to move past a quality Madawaska team featuring the Pelletier brothers. This past Saturday, they'll take on Monmouth in the state title game this next Saturday in Augusta at 4:15. As for the girls in Class D, the 4th seed Penobscot Valley shook the whole bracket up with a win over top-seeded and undefeated Bangor Christian. They finish it off with a win over Machias to win D North and advance to the state title game, where they'll take on Mount Abram down in Augusta at 2:35. Finally, in Class S, Easton won the North Regional title on the boys' side after an outstanding second half against Jonesport Beals last Saturday morning. They'll take on number 1 seed from the South Valley on Saturday at 12:45 at the Augusta Civic Center. And for the girls, our graphic is wrong. Wisdom won Class S North on the girls' side of things, and their team had 8 players, just 8 players. They ran the table, beating Katahdin this past Saturday morning. They'll actually kick off state championship Saturday down in Augusta, where they'll take on Valley at 11:05. We'll have you covered all week long in the lead-up, covering our local teams who are playing in those state championship games. For now, that's all the time we have for sports. Here's your full 5-day forecast. The United States men's Olympic hockey team won one of the greatest hockey games of all time and took home a gold medal with their 2-1 overtime win over Canada. Matt Boldy would get his second goal of the Olympic Games to get the match started for the U.S. Canada's Cale Makar will get his second goal in Milan as well later on to tie it early in overtime. It was Jack Hughes scoring the golden goal. Their team's victory ends a 46-year gold medal drought, their last gold medal coming from the infamous Miracle on Ice team, who won the gold over the favored Soviet Union. USA women's hockey team in similar fashion won their gold medal match the other day over Canada 2-1 in overtime. Well, the 2026 Milan Cortina Winter Olympics have now closed. Let's see how it all shook out medal-wise. Norway topped the final medal count, 41 total medals. The United States finished second in both gold and total medals won. 4 Mainers competed in this year's Olympics. We'll have all tournament coverage and covering our local teams playing in those state championships this weekend all week long. For now, that's all the time we have for sports. We'll be right back after the break.
Space for just in case. Lease a new 2026 Sportage LX front-wheel drive for $239 a month.
You heard it was a hit. You heard it was a smash. A wonder. A phenomenon. An international sensation. But you haven't heard them.
March 16 at the Cross Insurance Center. Get your tickets today.
Welcome to Stowaway's Town Tavern in Bucksport, where every meal's a hearty feast that feels like a family gathering. Stowaway serves generous portions of classic home-style dishes that are sure to satisfy. Complement your meal with your favorite drink from Ugly's Tap Room, Stowaway's full-service bar. Come as our guest, leave as our friend at Stowaway's Town Tavern in Bucksport. Open every day for lunch, dinner, and snacks in between.
Are your gutters weighed down by debris causing them to sag and overflow? I'm Tony Hafford with TC Hafford Basement Systems. Clogged gutters lead to costly repairs for your home, so skip the cleaning and stop the clogs with Gutter Shutter. Gutter Shutter, the world's best gutter, is a high-performance gutter with a lifetime no-clog guarantee. Stop the clutter, get Gutter Shutter. Call TC Hafford Basement Systems today for all things basementy.
Do you own a business or nonprofit in the state of Maine? Annual reports can now be filed online. All business and nonprofit entities on file with the Secretary of State's office must file an annual report to maintain a good standing status. The annual filing deadline is June 1. Questions? Contact the Corporations Division at 207-624-7752 or cec.corporations@maine.gov. Brought to you by this station, the Maine Association of Broadcasters, and the Office of the Secretary of State.
Space for just in case. Lease a new 2026 Sportage LX front-wheel drive for $239 a month.
I'm Johnny Knoxville, and this is Fear Factor, House of Fear. It's going to get so much worse.
Fear Factor, House of Fear, all new Wednesdays on Fox.
This month is American Heart Month, a time to raise awareness about cardiovascular health. Heart failure is a disease where the heart is not able to pump enough blood that the body requires, and doctors are warning the condition is increasingly affecting younger adults. Fox's Gernal Scott has more.
It started going from not able to sleep to waking up in the middle of the night, gasping for breath, like I couldn't breathe.
Heart failure isn't something most young people are worried about, but health experts say it's a disease that can affect people at any age.
So I thought I was like drowning. So after a couple of days of that, I'm like, there's something serious going on.
32-year-old Alex Balms thought it was just anxiety that caused him to experience shortness of breath and an irregular heartbeat. But when his symptoms became too much to ignore, he sought medical attention and was ultimately diagnosed with heart failure.
I asked him to keep checking. I'm like, it was just no way.
Balms is one of the nearly 7 million adults 20 years old or older who have the condition, according to CDC data. His cardiologist says it's important to visit a doctor if you experience shortness of breath, weight gain with swelling, trouble breathing while lying down, or feel weak or tired.
So, just call your primary care, and if you don't have one, try to find one soon. If you have complaints and your physical exam is concerning, then they should be ordering testing to further assess.
A recent survey from Orlando Health found that half of Americans would not schedule a non-urgent appointment with their doctor.
People are afraid to go get checked and find out that they have a problem. So that may limit them. Sometimes it's even access to medical care.
The data also shows only about 1 in 10 Americans would schedule a cardiologist appointment ASAP if they were experiencing classic heart failure symptoms. Health experts say it's important not to delay your care.
The problem is that because they don't seek help, then by the time we get to meet them, it may be too late. And a lot of these things could be preventable.
There are multiple risk factors for heart failure in young adults, including regular use of alcohol, obesity, and diabetes. In New York, Gernal Scott, Fox News.
All right, well, switching to the entertainment world now, Fox's Fear Factor, House of Fear contestants take on a pain auction. Extracted survivalists face a food trial, and The Masked Singer takes a cue from the Spice Girls. We have a look at that and more of what's coming up on Fox TV this week. Here's Ashley Dvorkin. All right, it looks like there is a technical issue with that piece. Moving on to our next story right now as soon as we get to it. Back here at home, downtown Bangor will have a new hub for visitors and entrepreneurs. The city is getting a brand new welcome center. The center will be located at 33 State Street, or as many locals know it, the old Bangor Hydro building. The Downtown Bangor Partnership has relocated its offices to the landmark building. It will also be home to WKIT and Mix Maine Media. A statement says the Welcome Center will have dedicated space to host a gallery or pop-up, plus a small business incubator, which Downtown Bangor hopes will serve as a stepping stone and pipeline for individuals looking for an affordable and manageable space to test the market. The opening for the new Downtown Bangor Welcome Center is planned for sometime during the summer 2026 tourism season. Well, a cancer survivor in Brownville is finding both hope and healing by creating oil paintings inspired by Mother Nature. Our Jody Hersey has more.
Inside her Brownville home, Peggy Clark Lumpkins is creating a masterpiece on canvas.
I don't think I have a photographic memory. Like, I'll go on a walk and I'll see something and it just goes click.
Peggy grew up in New York City and went on to study art in both high school and college until Maine wooed her here in 1987.
Just wanted to be in a natural place.
Peggy paints every day during the winter. Nothing can prevent her from picking up her tools, not even cancer.
Like, I recently went through chemo. Just the whole idea of cancer can be a nightmare. But I would pick up my paintbrush and there was no cancer, you know? Like, there was nothing else there except just that moment.
Peggy spends as much time outdoors as she can, and during the summer and fall, she travels throughout the state for art shows.
I do 10 shows a year. I mean, everybody comes here. So my work is all over the country, just from the people who've come here to the main shows.
Peggy says she believes painting can be healing, whether you are the one creating it or gazing at it.
I'm just so glad to be alive, you know, and to be able to do the things that I love. That's what life's about, right?
In Brownville, I'm Jody Hersey for ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Well, back to the entertainment world now. Fox's Fear Factor, House of Fear contestants take on that pain auction. Extracted survivalists face a food trial, and The Masked Singer takes a cue from the Spice Girls. Here is Fox's Ashley Dvorkin.
Spice up your life on The Masked Singer. Here's what's hot on Fox.
I cannot believe it.
First, Monday starts with Extracted, where survivalists face a food trial, while a hidden power card at HQ ends up in cutthroat decisions.
Something's wrong with me.
Then, Memory of a Killer brings an episode reflecting on Angelo's past, as he remembers when he first learned his brother had Alzheimer's and it forced him to make a life-changing decision.
This man may have been murdered.
Tuesday, on Best Medicine, the town is on high alert when a corpse is found and an autopsy reveals it was a murder. After that, Fox Entertainment presents live coverage of the State of the Union address.
Oh, I'm ready.
Wednesday, What the Masked Singer Really Wants is Spice Girls Night and special guest panelist Taraji P. Henson.
Oh, that's a big needle. Whoa.
Then on Fear Factor, House of Fear, the remaining contestants bid on how much they can take in a 24-hour pain auction. And for the first time, no one is safe from elimination in a pie-eating contest, Fear Factor style.
Let's go!
Chefs go fishing on Next Level Chef when 3 giant fishes descend on the platform, and teams work together preparing their catch.
A missing cockatiel was spotted on the 500 block of Rainier Avenue.
We're on it.
Back-to-back comedies follow. On Animal Control, Frank tries to rescue 24 animals in 24 hours after Templeton is nominated for Animal Control Officer of the Year. Then Papadakis fills in as the Colonel's right-hand man on Going Dutch. In Hollywood, Ashley Dvorkin, Fox News.
Alrighty, folks, well, that is going to do it for us from everyone here at Fox 22 News. Take care and have a great rest of your night. We'll see you tomorrow.
For more local news coverage, switch over to our sister station, ABC 7, right now for ABC 7 News at 11.
Christina Applegate and Taylor Tomlinson on an all-new Jimmy Kimmel Live later tonight.
You won't be riding with me anymore. Then who?
You're gonna be training Penn.
Are you kidding?
Oh, this is nice. Back together again. Now I can really let my freak flag fly.
Hit it, Super Freak.
We were just in the middle of filming when two guys with guns came in.
Filming what?
We do shows based around improv comedy.
Just tell me what happened.
I got into comedy after being bullied.
Can we make them kiss?
Ooh, can we make them kiss? Can we see a kiss between 4 and 2?
This is ABC 7 News at 11.
Good evening, everyone, and thank